Have you ever felt a pressure you couldn't name? A quiet weight pressing on your chest, not from anyone's words but from what was never said? The world around you looks normal but inside something feels heavy. You move carefully. You speak softly. You try to fit into a mold no one ever showed you, yet somehow you already know exists. This is the tyranny that no one talks about. Not written, not spoken, but deeply felt, every single day. Have you ever walked into a room and felt smaller? Not because anyone said something but because something inside whispered that you weren't enough? Maybe it's the way someone looked at you, or didn't. Maybe it's the silence after you speak, the kind that makes you question if you said too much or not enough. That feeling, that invisible tension pressing down on you, it's not random. It's the quiet weight of unspoken expectations. Expectations you never agreed to but somehow lived by. You feel them when your parents sigh instead of speaking. You sense them when your friends say, "It's fine," but their tone says otherwise. You even impose them on yourself. Expectations to be calm, to be capable, to be liked, to be perfect. What's strange is no one ever said those words to you directly. No one handed you a rulebook titled, "How You Must Be." And yet here you are, following it. You dress a certain way, speak carefully, hide your true feelings, and smile through exhaustion, all to meet standards no one ever officially set. That's the quiet tyranny we rarely talk about, the way invisible rules shape visible lives. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It simply exists, a silent pressure guiding your every move, disguised as what's expected. And the scariest part? Most people never question it. They just adapt, shrink, and carry on, believing that discomfort is normal. But it's not. It's conditioning. It's a lifetime of learning to read between the lines, to sense disappointment before it's expressed, to anticipate rejection before it happens. And so we live our lives not by what we want, but by what we assume others expect. In this quiet submission, something inside you slowly fades. Your voice, your boundaries, your authenticity. You begin to lose the distinction between who you are and who you were trained to be. This is the first layer of the unseen prison, the one built not from control but from silence. The truth is, unspoken expectations don't just control you, they consume you. They twist the way you love, the way you show up, even the way you see yourself. You start to measure your worth by how well you meet standards that were never clearly defined. You chase approval you were never directly asked to earn. And when you fail to meet these invisible demands, guilt fills the silence. You tell yourself, "I should have known better." But how can you know what was never said? In relationships, this shows up quietly. You expect your partner to read your mind, to understand your needs without you saying a word, because you do that for them. And when they don't, resentment brews. Not because they failed you, but because both of you are living under the spell of the same silent agreement. That love should come with intuition instead of communication. In families, it's the child who grows up feeling responsible for everyone's happiness, because no one ever said, "You don't have to be." It's the parent who sacrifices their dreams to maintain peace, because breaking tradition would be too loud. In friendships, it's the quiet competition, the fear of being too much, too successful, too emotional. So you shrink, smile, and keep it light, because deep down you're terrified of disappointing people who never clearly told you what would. Over time, these unspoken rules begin to write themselves into your identity. You start to confuse compliance with kindness and silence with strength. You tell yourself you're being understanding, when really you're disappearing. And that's the emotional cost, not just exhaustion or anxiety but erasure. The slow fading of your authentic self in exchange for belonging. Because when every choice is guided by invisible expectations, your life stops being yours. You become a reflection of what others want, or what you think they want, instead of who you truly are. And maybe that's why so many people feel lonely, even when surrounded by love. Because it's not connection if you have to hide your real self to keep it. This is the hidden tax of silence, the emotional cost of living a life that looks peaceful on the outside, but feels suffocating on the inside. Freedom doesn't always begin with rebellion. Sometimes, it starts with awareness. That quiet moment when you finally see the invisible strings that have been pulling you. For years you may have thought you were making your own choices. But now, you start to notice the subtle patterns. The way you say yes when you mean no. The way you apologize for simply taking up space. The way you shrink yourself to keep the peace. And when that awareness hits, it hurts. Because it means realizing how much of your life has been lived on autopilot, trying to meet expectations no one ever said out loud. But here's the truth. You don't have to keep playing that invisible game. Breaking free doesn't mean rejecting everyone around you. It means learning to pause and ask, whose voice is this in my head? Is this truly what I want, or what I've been trained to want? It's in those questions that freedom begins. You start to unlearn the need to be understood before you speak. You start to realize that peace doesn't come from meeting everyone's standards. It comes from setting your own. And you discover that love built on honesty will always be louder than the love built on fear. The world won't always applaud this version of you, the one that says no, that chooses differently, that speaks up when silence was expected. But the right people will understand. Because when you live authentically, you give silent permission for others to do the same. So maybe liberation isn't loud at all. Maybe it's the quiet confidence in saying, I don't owe anyone a performance. I don't need to earn my worth. I am allowed to exist exactly as I am. That's how the tyranny ends, not with a revolution outside, but with a realization inside. Because the moment you stop living by unspoken expectations, you start living by truth. And that, finally, is freedom. And maybe freedom was never about fighting harder. Maybe it's about letting go of the invisible weight, the silent rules, the voices that never belong to you. You are not who the world expects you to be. You are who you choose to become, once you stop living for approval and start living in truth. Because sometimes the loudest kind of freedom is the one that comes in silence.